One nation, just one big. Yes, the right's coming back, pendulum swinging. This is good news, and the uni-party should be very worried right now, and the wokey lefties are gonna need a brace for societal change, in which they're not happy about it. This is what we're covering today on the Show. One nation's victory and mishaps, influencer lefties throwing tanties over the rise of the right, and what this really means for Australia moving forward. So welcome back to the Show. But before we get into this, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more videos like this. It helps us out a lot, and make sure to leave your comments down below. So, as you guys probably know, on the 9th of May, One Nation won the Farrer by-election, making their first ever seat in the House of Representatives. David Farley pulled around 57 to 59% of the two-candidate preferred vote against the independent candidate, and Liberal and Labor weren't even in the final two-candidate count. This hasn't happened in a federal seat since the 1980s, so the uni-party is collapsing right in front of us. However, for us over here on the right, we had a bit of a taken aback moment the other day, just before the Farrer election, when David Farley stated 300,000 actually isn't too high.
Is 306,000 too many? No, it's probably not. If we're successful in One Nation's water policies, we're going to need more labour, and we're going to need more labour quickly, skilled labour. So for anyone to be able to say what is the number today, is you'll be able to address is what are we doing with productivity and what are we doing with capacity building. Then you'll get a true number that's required for Australia.
I was gobsmacked to hear this. I was like, what's happening? What's going on? One Nation, this isn't your policy. What's going on here, and what's going to happen in the election? But then we had Pauline Hanson coming out saying this.
Okay, and in the last week too, your candidate obviously, did you get cranky at him over the immigration stuff? Did you ring him and say, listen, the numbers are not One Nation numbers?
No, I said that's not our policy. To say 306,000 is okay. I said our policy is 130,000. But as he said to me and explains it, and I understand it, a lot of the area here, the whole seat of Farrer, relies on foreign workers, and they need that to keep the work going, to keep the industries going here. So I can understand. So he's talking for his electorate. But overall, our policy is no. Cut off at 130,000, deport all those that are in the country illegally, over 100,000, round them up.
Yeah, look, I get it. People slip up sometimes. I understand. But still, how do you fuck up One Nation's most important policy? But anyway, at the end of the day, these people are still going for political positions, and we need to keep everyone accountable from the beginning, because above any party, I'm Australia first. So if you're not putting us first, then you're out, no matter who you are. But this is still a huge win, and I got some hope back. Let's go. Now let's take a look at some lefties who aren't so happy. Let's take a look.
If you're like me and you're looking around society right now, feeling extremely disheartened and concerned about the level to which we have so far gone right-wing, so conservative, puritanical, traditional values, all of this propaganda and messaging and policy that is so right-wing, it's concerning and spooky, I just want to remind you of something, okay? Despite the fact that it is currently mainstream to be conservative and traditional and right-wing, I just want to remind you that being controversial in this moment is actually a good thing, and is going to be the thing that puts you on the right side of history. So don't be scared to continue to speak up for yourself and for others who are losing their rights, okay? Because when you think about it, people who are controversial during any period of history, if they are progressive, they are almost always on the right side of history when we look back, right? Even if we look at people from 10, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 100 years ago, the people that were most progressive are the ones that we now today say, thank God for those people, okay? No matter how far back you go, even if they were the most controversial people, even if they were literal martyrs, we look back and we say, thank God for people like that. Because without those people, we would have no progression. You know why? Because they are progressive. In contrast, people who are controversial yet traditional and right-wing and conservative are often seen as the worst people in history.
The amount of narcissism in that video, my God. And yes, the pendulum is swinging. The wokies have had their time, and now it's for us. It's been a painful few years of common sense being far and distant when it comes to the media and constant headaches of the debate of you're a man or a woman. Because remember, biological realities doesn't actually matter. But back to that video. First, the history marks. You do realize that going back 100, 200 years ago, a leftist progressive would in today's world actually sit on the right. And what you're calling progressive right now isn't progressive at all and doesn't in the slightest way compare to the history of, say, the suffragettes, which ironically are the things conservatives are preserving today, like enforcing women's rights against having confused men in our bathrooms, in which the left pushes upon us. And if you're new here, that's what we call trans people. We call them confused men and women because it's a more accurate and factual based word to call them. Adding to this, what rights are you actually losing due to the right? Like in this country, the rights that we're losing is the ones that people thought they had because we never actually had rights to begin with. And it's all happening at the power of the left, which is what should be our right to free speech, in which has been destroyed by the hate speech laws in which Labor introduced. And we on the right are advocating for free speech to be established in the Constitution, and beyond that, to have a Bill of Rights similar to the US. So I really don't know where she's coming from here. And also, you know what? What would be progressive in today's world? Seriously, because I think we've expanded this progressive rhetoric of, you know what, gay people need more rights. Name a right that you need. If the LGBT whatever trans gay people all of a sudden had another right, that means that it's going to take away from the rest of the population's rights because they already have equal rights compared to everybody else. So if they were given another one that allows them to do something else, whatever that may be, seriously name one, I cannot think of one, then that means that nobody else can do that. It's just them. So that seems kind of unjust, like, does it not? Now take a look at this video.
I hate the Greens. It's usually what people who hate the Greens say before they find out that the Greens don't take any donations from big corporations and that they want to ban corporate donations to political parties and that they want to make it easier for the public to see who's donating to which political parties and how much, and that they've been pushing for a bigger tax on gas exports for over 10 years, and that they want to make our essential services publicly owned so private companies aren't ripping off everyday Aussies to make a bigger profit, and that they want the salaries of politicians to be determined by an independent tribunal and never by the government as it currently is, and that they want to make it more difficult for big corporations and the super elite to influence our politicians so the politicians actually represent the people who vote them in, and that they want to restrict ministers from going straight to working for big corporations as lobbyists in the industries they're just supposed to be regulating, like all these former premiers and ministers. By this point, I hate the Greens usually becomes, I can't believe I've been brainwashed into hating the Greens all my life, when really they're sticking it to the establishment and trying to give the power back to the people who should have the power over the decisions that are made in this country.
Lunacy. The only thing I agree with you, mate, is the first sentence. How about also including their policies of not only not cutting immigration, but also opening the gates further to humanitarian intake, or them continuing net zero, aiming for 2035, which is not only unrealistic, but impossible, and also costing billions of dollars for something that's absolutely useless. Also banning all new coal, oil and gas projects, also banning exploration permits. So there's our national sovereignty out the window. And if you didn't like the repercussions of the fuel crisis, you would have hated it if the Greens were running the show. And I think the Greens' big selling point, which is all just a guise, but they have that rhetoric of, we're for humanity, you know, open borders, everyone comes to our country. If you're suffering for humanity, we're for the environment, we're not for profit, we're not backed by billionaires, we're the good guys in all of this. But in reality, they're just hiding behind that mask and roping you in. Now take a look at this video.
I think this is really a time for people to start to look at what One Nation does compared to what they say. They're pretty good at having a whinge and identifying problems. They're not so great at finding solutions. This is the One Nation that voted against higher wages and better conditions for working Australians. They say that they're for the ordinary person, but they vote against higher wages and better conditions. They vote against cheaper childcare. They vote against fee-free TAFE. They vote against energy bill relief. They vote against all of the things that make court.
Thanks for the
That's what I'm saying to Australian voters. Look at their record. I listen to you, Barnaby.
Tanya,
we inherited immigration settings that saw some of the highest numbers. We've brought them down. We've halved immigration since we've been in government. Well, we have, Barnaby.
Well,
the
look,
numbers
I'm
are
happy to
there in the
respond to
budget.
this.
Those numbers are coming
just finish
down
with the talking
year
points,
after
Tanya.
year. They're coming off the settings. The two highest years for immigration, 9 million visas issued 2 years in a row when you were in government, Barnaby, and Peter Dutton was the immigration minister. Barnaby knows that there are farmers who rely on those backpackers and other workers from the Pacific to come and pick crops every time that they need help with their crops. I don't think Barnaby's saying that he's going to stop that.
I'm not saying
or is he
anything at the
saying that
moment.
he's-
I'd sort of repudiate what Tanya said. We've had massive immigration, over 400,000 people a year coming in under Labor, which is a population of Canberra, without them having built the houses, without them having built the schools. If you wait forever in an emergency department at a hospital, it's because we've got too many people and not enough capital infrastructure to deal with them. Focus on the numbers, but we should be focusing also on, can you absorb these people? If you can't absorb these people, then if you do not have the houses for them, if you don't have the dams for them, if you don't have the schools for them, and you're going to put them in the western suburbs of Sydney, then get ready to just be parked on your road.
I think Barnaby Joyce's response was quite good. And, Tanya was waffled about One Nation whinging, when in reality, she just had a big whinge. And Barnaby Joyce came in and just went, you know what, common sense, this is the fact. And I think that was great. And to the point of One Nation whinges and never comes up with any solutions, just take a look at their policies to identify problems. First, high migration and the strain on infrastructure. The solution, cap total permanent and temporary visas 135,000 per year and deport approximately 75,000 illegal immigrants. Next, housing affordability and foreign demand. Solution, ban all foreign ownership of residential property and introduce a 5-year GST pause on building materials to lower construction costs. Next policy, rising energy costs and reliability solution. Get rid of net zero and expand coal and gas production and build a 1,400 MW nuclear reactor on the East Coast. So look, those are One Nation's policies and solutions embedded in their policies. So I really don't know where she's coming from when she said that One Nation just whinges and has no solutions. Look at their website. And the policies that Tanya listed are exactly the kind of short-term political sugar hits that sound great in the moment, but create bigger financial problems down the track. And also, all of these people having a tanty over One Nation winning just truly shows where the left and where the woke people of Australia, where their interests really lie and where their agendas lie. Because if anyone looks at One Nation and compares them to Labor or the Libs or Greens, they're pretty distinct, they're pretty different. And if you're not voting for One Nation, you're not Australia first. So if you're sitting there having a tansy because the right is rising in Australia, then it's got to ask you 3 questions. First one, the fact of the matter is that we're being demographically replaced in our own country through our Australian-born fertility rate being lower than our foreign immigrant fertility rate, which will therefore demographically replace us by 2040. Do you want that in your country? If so, vote for the Greens and the uni-party. If not, vote for One Nation because they'll cut immigration. 2, did you like what we experienced and what we're going to experience in this fuel crisis due to a foreign conflict that weighed heavily on the repercussions on us due to our sovereignty being non-existent? If yes, you enjoyed what we're experiencing, fuel prices at above $2 a litre, then vote for the Greens and the uni-party. They'll continue this net zero emissions by 2035. They'll continue no drilling, and they'll continue not operating any refineries, and they'll continue to operate Australia as a foreign-based alliance country. If you didn't like what we recently experienced, vote One Nation because they're going to drill, baby, drill. And 3, immigration is affecting the housing crisis. That's a fact. That's not an opinion. It's a fact. So if you want to continue not being able to afford a house, if you want to continue having your kids not being able to afford a house, then vote for the uni-party and the Greens. If you want yourself and your kids to be able to afford a house and live the Australian dream, vote for One Nation because they're cutting immigration. You get my drift. You get what I'm trying to say here. Now take a look at this ABC News reporter statement just before the Farrer election. Let's take a look.
A big and dangerous mistake to legitimise One Nation and to embolden One Nation. I used the term earlier on in the broadcast, the permission structure. If they are able to win their first lower house seat, that begins the process of legitimising them, and in other electorates where they may run, voters thinking, well, it's happened before, it's normal now. You start normalising something.
This just shows that the ABC will spin absolutely anything, and also just shows what they really think about the Australian people. They think that we'll just follow the crowd and see that One Nation's won before, so it'll become like a normalised event. You might as well tick them at the election. No, the ABC underestimates the Australian people, and you just showed it to everyone. So for the uni-party guys, I don't think there's any hope for them. We've got Labor, who is declining in popularity, especially Albanese. But of course, with Albanese and with Labor, we'll always have a percentage of Australians who are just watching the ABC and mainstream media and will keep voting for Labor because in their eyes, Albo can't do anything wrong. And then we've got the Libs, who say that they're the Conservative Party of Australia, but do every action to indicate that Conservative beliefs aren't actually theirs, like when ScoMo was in and shutting down refineries and previous successive governments as well. And also immigration, yes, was lower than what it was now due to the mishandling of COVID partly, but it's still relatively high when the Libs were in. And we also had Angus Taylor trying to steal Pauline Hanson's policies just to win over some votes. So I reckon the uni party is on the decline. I'm feeling really threatened by One Nation. And for the Greens, I can't even. One word that sums them up is lunatics, but 33% of their votes still coming from young people. So that's a problem that we need to tackle. But that's for another video. Let me know in the comments if you want one. Happy to make it because I cannot believe the youth is voting for those lunatics. But guys, we got to win this week and that's absolutely amazing. So tell your friends about this, tell your family about this channel as well. Let's get more people on the right, more people waking up so we can win the next election and have Pauline Hanson or One Nation, someone in their party as the next Prime Minister. Let's do it, guys. We have the ability to. So thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a comment down below. I love to read through them and see your opinions, and I hope to see you all in my next one. Thanks, guys.